No, it's not a coincidence. There's a reason why, what, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 of my videos have Spain in the title. I'm asking questions about the culture and the people of Spain. The reason is because it's important for me to cater to my audience. A large amount of my audience is in Spain. They're curious about this ignorant American asking all these silly questions about Spain that he doesn't know because his own nation's school education system failed him when it came to Europe, Spain, the rest of the world, right? It's funny because I've seen every episode of Joe McHale's show on Netflix, and he has this segment he always does where it's like this computerized thing. It's like, America, and then it turns the globe, and it's like, everywhere else. And like, yeah, that's pretty much how it is based on life as an American, culture as an American. So a lot of people watch me from Spain, and I'm glad you're here. This is our relationship that we have. It just is. Like, okay, it's almost like we're coworkers. It's like, okay, I guess I'll be seeing a lot of you. I guess I'll be getting to know you pretty well by now because now we're kind of stuck together, right? So if you're tuning in from Spain, which you are, I'm glad you're here. And as we cannot deny, we are distant cousins because 1/3 of my DNA is Iberian. With all that being said, I'm not even very curious. I think I already know. I want to talk about the crazy American custom of tipping. It's out of hand. It's out of hand. It's out of hand. See, I get it. Like in other parts of the world, in certain ways, situations, you tip someone. I just heard coyotes. There's coyotes that live in my backyard. There's a soybean field in my backyard. And what time is it? Yeah, usually like at 10:30. I'll hear like this freaky like crying baby sound. It's the coyotes. So, what is this video about? Tipping. It's about tipping. So, I was a waiter. Like after I graduated college and before I moved to Nashville during that summer, I was a waiter at a steakhouse, which now is ironic because you all know that I'm a vegan. But during that summer, I knew good and well what it meant to make like $1.92 an hour, because here in America, because tipping is so much part of our culture, if you're a server or a waiter at a restaurant, they pay you barely anything because they know you'll make up the difference in tips. And it's how it works here. And I'm like, okay, I can even buy into that concept. But the problem is, because that arbitrary system is how it works here, bleeds into other stuff. So like, okay, you go to get your hair cut. All right, well, it's kind of the same concept at a lot of those places. They don't pay the people quite that much to cut your hair because that person has to pay for seat space and all that. So it's depending on tips. So like, for example, I got my hair cut last week, and I think it was like, was it $14? I just go to like Great Clips, right? Just right across behind that field with the coyotes. And like, I didn't know, like, so I tipped like, I don't know, like $4 to $5 probably. Like that proportion, that's a lot. But I'm like, I don't know this lady. I mean, I don't know what her life's like. Like, she cut my hair. I'm gonna have this haircut for a month, so I guess I'll just give her $4 or $5. You know, maybe that's too much. I don't know. That's what I gave her. Like, I tip out of guilt is what I do. Like, I feel bad. Like, okay. But at the same time, it also affects my potential purchases, because there's a lot of times that I won't even buy anything. I won't go there, do that thing, because I'll have to leave a tip. Like, let me give you some examples of how tipping is out of hand. Like, I don't know, like coffee shops. I'm at a coffee shop at least once a week because of my wife. So therefore I'm there. And like, it used to be, there was a subtle little tip jar there, a glass jar with change in it. And I could get away with never leaving a tip. I'm like, they're at least being paid minimum wage, and I'm okay with not tipping. It's not against my conscience. But now, especially when you go to like local coffee shops and you pay with your card and they've got the little screen, and it automatically, they turn it to you, and then it shows you the total, and then it gives you the option for a tip, like 15%, 20%, or no tip. So then you feel like a horrible person if you put no tip. So what I do, I am a horrible person, because what I do is after I scan the card, I turn to my wife and I just kind of nod to her, and then she'll press the button, and I'll let her decide whether we're going to tip 15% for For what? The person took my order? Or is that tip for the person who makes the coffee? Or it's the combined effort? So, but where do you draw the line though? Like, where do you draw the line of who you shouldn't tip? It seems in theory, and I thought about this when my son, who's now 7.5, when he was like, he wasn't even a year old when he first started going to daycare. He was like, I don't know, 7 months. And like, I went there one time and was picking him up. He just had a dirty diaper. And the girl there, the teacher there, said, oh, let me change his diaper before you leave with him. So like, I waited there as she put him on the table and changed his dirty diaper. And I told her, I said, I feel like I should give you a tip. And of course it was a joke, because obviously you don't do that. But why is that so crazy of a thought to tip someone for changing your kid's diaper? It's like, where do you draw the line on tipping? And the answer is, here in America, we really don't. Like, you just have to assume that you're supposed to tip everybody. Meanwhile, contrast that to when I went to Thailand the first time, the summer of 2003, and I was like at a steakhouse. Like, here's another steakhouse story, but I was in Thailand at Outback, and I was in a group of all these American and Canadian teachers that were teaching English at school. We went out on a Friday night to this place. Great experience. And there was a whole group of servers, and I was like getting my money out to tip them, and someone's like, no, don't. Like, it'll be rude if I don't. And they're like, it'll be rude if you do, because in this culture, they see that as implying that they are just doing this for money and not because they enjoy what they do, and it's implying they're not getting paid enough. It's actually insulting. So then I had to realize, oh, so I'm an American and I'm brainwashed to believe that you're supposed to tip or you're rude. So I don't know, it's interesting because no one wants to feel like they're a bad person. And generally I don't. Generally I'm not one of those people that, but I'm a good person. Typically I don't think I'm a good person. I'm like, I just look at myself as morally neutral. I'm like, the moment I start believing I'm a good person, then I'm gonna start feeling entitled. They're like, oh, I deserve things. So I make it a point to not believe that I'm a good person. But I don't know. I mean, typically people that you tip, a lot of times they're the people who don't make that much money. And I guess that's why the tip jar's there. Or if even like you go to Moe's, like the burrito place, I love them, because as a vegan I can easily go there and eat. But there's oh, it's not Coyotes, it's the neighbors. They're like having a party and cheering. That was gonna be freaky if that was Coyotes. Wow, that's weird. Because I'm the only one up at night at like 11 o'clock on a Friday night. That creeped me out. So, Americans are so crazy with tipping. So I guess if nothing else, for those of you in Spain, I want to know, as I've explained this, doesn't that sound ridiculous to you? Like, you can't relate to that, right? Like, that's absurd. If I one day when I come to Spain, I won't have to worry about all this tipping all the time, right? I don't know. Please tell me about tipping in Spain. Confirm that it is crazy that we have to tip for everything here. And what should we tip on and what should we not have to tip on? But it's just like like there's these ice cream shops where like they like scoop your ice cream and then they mix it and they chop it up, like, and then there's a tip jar there. Like, you go to a hotel, you're supposed to tip the person who carries your bags, and that's why I'm like, no, I grab my bags. I'm like, I carry my own bag. I'm a man, and I'm not gonna tip you. Because I learned that years ago. I went, but in case you don't know this, I'm a blogger. FamilyFriendlyDaddyBlog.com is an actual website that's been around for nearly a decade. I'm a blogger. I get free stuff a lot. And every couple of years, Toyota, Chevy, they'll send me on trips. And so the first time it happened, I went, my wife and I and our son at the time, because our daughter wasn't born yet, they sent us down to Florida, put us in this nice hotel in Naples, in Florida. And we had a lot of luggage. And we were like on the 4th, 5th floor. And I had just driven all this way, trying to keep the baby asleep and all this. And this guy, man, he was so helpful. He was so helpful at the hotel, helping us with all the luggage, get out of the car and all of that. And then, like, he was smiling at me at the end. Like this. And I was like, thanks. And then as I was getting in the car and I shut the door, my wife was like, I think you wanted a tip. And I was like, and I'm like fumbling around for cash. And then he walked away. I was like, oh, because you're supposed to tip for everything all the time as an American. Okay, so even if you're not in Spain, maybe you're in a different country, have I taught you anything you didn't know about American culture? That basically you just have to assume at all times for anything you're supposed to tip, and that you're supposed to feel like a miserable person if you don't. That's, as an American, that's my perception of tipping in America. I can't wait to read the comments. Please, let's talk more about this. Make me feel like I'm not crazy after all, that we shouldn't have to tip about everything, that we've got this silly arbitrary system in America where, hey, you know what? I can not pay that person as much and let the free market just tip them more. But for certain things. And I don't know, maybe things that you should actually tip, like it's not even implied that you do. Like someone changing my kid's diaper, that's worth a tip, I think. Like what? The guy, I got new tires on both of our cars last week, right? Do I tip him for put new tires on my car? Because hey, I'm depending on those tires to hold up, and I hope you put them on. That's what my wife said. She's like, I hope they put them on tight enough. I hope we're not driving down the road and they just roll off. That would be a good time to tip. It's crazy. It's madness, man. It's madness.